Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. As always, thank you for joining for another edition of the EQ Video Tip. Before we jump in, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? We have a great article from Jeff Hayden, who talks about Harvard research and how 3 words can actually improve the performance, the teamwork, and the buy-in of your whole team. And it can increase that performance by that team by over 50%. Hard to believe, but just 3 words can actually change the outcome that you want from a certain person or from a team member. Think about it. Our words matter, but certain specific words make a huge difference in terms of getting the most output out of one person or out of a team. Let's jump in to see what words Jeff has in store for us. Tip number 1, could. It sounds like a pretty interesting one, but let's think about this. You're in a meeting. There's a problem going on. You're trying to figure something out. You probably say something like, what should we do? Instead of saying, what should we do, substitute the should with could. Sounds pretty simple, but should actually limits the feedback. It allows people to think, well, we've got an option A or an option B, or 3 options, let's figure it out from there. Could actually changes that. It implies that you haven't narrowed down the solution set to a few choices. It makes it unlimited possibilities. So could feels like something you get to choose and you get to figure it out, versus should, I've got a choice, A or B or A, B, C, something like that. So take time to think about how you're actually going to articulate this when you talk to someone. When you're making a decision, what could we do as opposed to what should we do? Tip number 2, because. Now this is a really crazy one. I can't believe the research behind it. If you need something at work, typically the best thing to do is just to ask politely for it. That's what people say. Ask please, say thank you. But there's actually something better, using the word because. And here's a crazy research example. So a group of people were asked to cut in line at the copier machine. They were supposed to go up to the copy machine and say, I need to use the copy machine. The first group said, excuse me, I have 5 pages to copy. May I use the copy machine, please? In that case, about 60% of the people allowed them to cut in front and get their copies made in a faster manner and not have to wait the line. So essentially, they cut the line. Sounds great. Politeness works. Obviously, it's a great thing in business. However, phrase 2 was, excuse me, I have 5 pages to print. May I use the copy machine because I'm in a rush? Amazingly, 94% of the people standing in line let that person in front of them, and they were allowed to do those 5 extra pages. Pretty crazy. Here's the crazier example. Phrase number 3. Excuse me, I have 5 pages to be Xerox. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make copies? The result, crazy, but 93% allowed people to go and do those copies. Now, why does it make no sense? Because everybody's online to make copies, but because they used the word because, it opened up the opportunity for them to cut the line. The word because gives them a reason to do something, including the word because makes a huge difference. But don't stop there. Because is clear, make it logical and compelling. And when you make your because logical, clear, compelling, people want to do things for you. Even silly things like, I need to make copies because I need to make them. Sounds crazy, because you need to do it. Tip number 3, and our last tip, together. Obviously, teams want to work together. That's why we're a team. But it's important to state the obvious that we want to work together because people work harder, longer, and more effectively when they're together. A recent study by the Journal of Experimental Science, Social Psychology, I should say, actually had 2 participation groups. One group was just working individually. The other group was told they had to work on a task together and they could ask help for or from a team member. The results were tallied up that the people who were told to work together worked 50% longer. They solved the problems more accurately, found it easier to stick with the task, and they said it was more interesting, even though they didn't actually work together with somebody else. What's happening? Well, the word together signaled to them that they were part of a greater team. It made them suggest that there's a motivation for them to work harder because there's someone else on the other side who's working just as hard, and that they have to be part of a team. When you're part, and you think you're part of something that's bigger than yourself, it makes a huge difference. So saying the word together makes a difference. So when you're assigning teams, don't just say, hey, you're a member of a team. Say you want them to work together to accomplish something, even if they're not working together all the time, because when they work on a project, they'll achieve that outcome. And when they achieve that outcome, it means that they will be working together. And if they think they're working together, science says they'll work harder, longer, and even better. So think about it. We're all here for a big win. Work together. That's a wrap for this week's EQ video tip. Hopefully these 3 words will help you improve your team's performance, their camaraderie, and their overall togetherness as a team. Use these tips, make them yours, and of course customize them to make them the best in your environment. Thanks again. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.